I go. I have no,
Oh,
oh,
this is all the ladies of the Bible.
no, it says wait like, oh yeah, Sarah, protect like Rahab, trust like Ruth, pray like Hannah, lead like Esther, rejoice like Mary. It's so pretty.
Love
Gotta
that
love
one.
that Cricut machine. Gotta love that Cricut machine. All right, good morning, everybody. We are extra early today because Laura has a place to be. So
Yeah,
bear
it's our
with us as our brains are turning on still.
We're chugging this coffee. So thank you, Jess, for getting up early.
Yeah. I'm
Saturday.
awake early. The sun wakes me up at 5:45 every morning, along with Trigger and Thea, Thea's sitting right next to me. You gonna come say hi?
It'll keep you on a schedule.
Come say hi. She's like, no, but you can rub my belly. I'll roll over.
I see your little face. Your little snouts in the camera.
Mhm.
Our
Oh,
cat gets us up at 5 a.m. on the dot every morning because he expects wet food. And then we go back to bed. So for a little bit.
you're just like, open your own can, cat. Open your own can.
I have been telling Phil that we need to teach him how to do that. There are like auto feeders that you can use,
Hmm.
but we did that one time. Actually, this is when Hermione was alive, but she learned how to hack it. So she could just eat whenever she wanted. So we were like, what's the point?
Cats are smart like that. My mom said that our old cat that we had for like 18 years. She's like, he would go from house to house in the neighborhood to get fed. And then he'd come home and we'd all feed him 3 times a day. Trigger, are you gonna come up here?
And he lived to be 18.
Oh my gosh, that cat was so big. And he's gotten in so many fights. Come on. I mean, you're trapped now. I don't know what you're gonna do. Just gonna sit there all the whole rest of the time? Come here. He's like, no, can you move the thing over?
Oh,
Sorry.
help me.
Welcome to the life of pets. Come here. Come on.
I was watching
Yeah.
a clip from Secret Life of Pets yesterday.
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Hi.
Hello, Trigger.
Come on, all the way up. You got this. Yep. There you go. Oh,
Turn. Beep, beep, beep.
here's
Ah,
here's my big boy.
situated.
Both my protectors, one on the left and one on the right. I don't know if you can, yeah, his little nose right here.
I can see him. Yeah.
Okay, so welcome to chapter 8, our final chapter in emotionally healthy spirituality. Loving Christ above all else is really what this boils down to. And boy, did I have an experience this week that put me to the test. And I apologize because that Muzi that I just was telling you about that I took,
Mhm.
if I start to get, this is the first time I've taken it. So if I start to get hot or something, I'll let you know.
Okay.
So I don't
I
know what's in it or
can.
how I'm going to react to it. Trigger. Okay, make a decision. That's a good one. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
but you were tested this week.
I was definitely tested this week and I've been posting videos about it and getting a lot of feedback. And I tell you, people just like drama. They're just drawn to telling you what to do. I can post a video about anything mental health related and like a few
Cricket.
people.
Yeah.
I post a question about how should I handle this evil person in my life, and everybody under the sun has an answer for me. And it has just been very insightful to see, like, or to confirm maybe how many people want to tell people what to do, and very few people want to be told what to
Truth. Truth. Yeah.
do.
And I also think that the advice depends on, you can tell where a person's heart is and where they're coming from because sometimes a lot of times I think it's vengeful even, maybe not to that extreme, but like get them back. Like, don't take that abuse, don't let that happen, but it's hardly ever turn the other cheek.
Yep.
So,
And I turned the other cheek this week, which is not like me. I'm usually the confrontation, conflict. I'm not a conflict avoidant. Like if something's bothering me, which I didn't conflict avoid, because something was bothering me. And so I'll tell the story. I moved home 3 years ago when my dad was first diagnosed with cancer and things started to decline for his health.
Mhm.
And I want to say my parents don't have a fenced in backyard. There's a cornfield in their backyard, but it's not fenced in. Both neighbors on both sides have fenced in backyards. So, like, I didn't think it was a big deal. Trigger and Thea have grown up in the mountains of Montana. They don't go outside of 100 feet of me usually. Like, they stay pretty close. So, anytime I let them out there, they'll go out into the field, they'll come back, they go out to the field, they come back, they sniff around. They're coon hounds. Like, they want to smell things.
Yeah.
So I think probably within the first few days, maybe the first week of me being home, one, I was going through a separation. Two,
Mhm.
my dad is dying of cancer. Three, my mom is stressed out. Um, so there's high tension already just from all of that kind of stress. And I let Trigger and Thea outside. They're in the backyard. And and the my mom is calling me now. We'll
Go
see.
ahead. It's fine.
Um, so I let Trigger outside. Then one neighbor who I'm having issues with, they have like a chunk of their fence was like down. Like it had been destroyed, taken down half of it, whatever. So it's like one of those wooden two slots with wooden fences that go around with like the mesh fence, metal fencing that you can see through. So they have an in-ground pool that's like built up. So their yard is like a couple feet higher than what our backyard is because they filled it with dirt and then put their in-ground pool in. So it's
Mhm.
like when we're in our backyard looking at their fence, the top of their fence line is like the bottom of their pool. So like we're not even looking through the fence. It's like the fence because their pool is built up. So it's like the pool is here and then it goes down and then you have the fence here. And so their pool is built up. So it's like eye level to us all the time. So we're constantly seeing them out there and everything. Anyways, the far back fence is broken. It fell down or it was taken down. I'm watching Trigger because I'm watching them because I want to make sure that they're not going anywhere. Well, my mom had come downstairs. My dad was on the couch and she was asking me a question about one of his doctor's appointments. And so I turned over, I answered her question. I think our conversation was less than 2 minutes. I don't even think it was that long. And then as I'm answering her question, she's like, "Oh, Trigger." So she started to notice Trigger was going to the back side of the cornfield towards his backyard where the opening in his fence is. And I was like, crap. So I open up the sliding door. He's like just inside this guy's fence line, maybe 2 or 3 feet, sniffing the ground. Because they have dogs, so they're smelling. Like,
Yep.
that's just what dogs do. So I open the door and I'm like, Trigger, get over here. And immediately he turns around to come to because he listens. I mean, they're canine trained. They're good dogs.
They are good dogs.
So he turns around, he comes out of their fence and he starts heading back. And at that same time, he comes out of his back door and he's like, "Get your dog out of my yard. Keep your dog in your own yard. Get him out of my." Like he's just screaming at me, being, mind you, this is my first interaction with this man ever. And I simply looked at him and I was like, "I'm so sorry. I'll keep like I apologize." He doesn't normally like, I just like, "I'm sorry."
Mhm.
"You're not sorry. You don't even care. If you cared, you'd put up a fence in your own backyard." And I'm like, "Well, it's not my backyard. Like, it's my parents' house. I just came to stay for temporary purposes to help my dad." Mind you, I didn't know it was going to go this long. But I was like, "I'm really sorry." And he's still just screaming at me. And then all of a sudden, the therapist in me comes out. And I looked over and I said, instead of screaming at me, you could control the only thing you can control and fix your own fence, and you won't have to worry about anybody's dogs coming in your backyard." And I think that's why he hates me now, is because I had like that conversation piece with him. And of
Accountability.
course, my dad's like, "Stop screaming at the neighbor." And I'm like, "He's screaming at me. What are you talking about?" Like, I'm not even yelling like, I'm not angry. I'm just like shouting loud enough to where he can hear into his back. I was just like, "Whatever, dad."
Yeah.
So my mom is all worked up. She goes out on the front porch. I'm upset because my dad's yelling at me, not giving a crap about this man next door screaming at me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whatever. And I ended up going out and getting a fence and putting one up that summer or like that day. At the same time, he was out there fixing the hole in his own fence too.
They did take your
Both-
advice.
They were both doing it. So he didn't like me, but he took my advice. Well, there have been a few incidents since then where they have people in their backyard partying all the time. So like, and they smoke pot, they drink a lot, they do their thing. So like, there's no judgment. Thought I used to have that life in my 20s, not in my 40s, but in my 20s. So I'm
Yeah.
not being judgmental. I don't care. What I do care about is I don't like listening to people's like the bass of their music. And we
Mhm.
can hear their music through our inside our house, everywhere in the house. It doesn't matter where you're at in the house, you can hear their music. So periodically, when it would get late, after 10 o'clock, I would go over there and ask them, like, hey, could you turn your music down? Uh, and they'd always get just real pissed off about it. Well, Memorial Day, Monday, I had to work. I'm working. I had 8 clients that day. And after the first 2, I was just noticing how distracted I was by the music that was playing in their backyard because they had turned it on. And so when I had a break, my client was late. One of my clients was late. So I went downstairs into the backyard just to be like, hey, do you mind turning your music down a little bit? Nobody's in the backyard. So I'm like, great, I'm going to have to go knock on their door. The last time I did this was not, I don't like this guy. Like, I don't like him. He scares me. Like, because he always screams. Like, and I just came out of an abusive relationship of somebody screaming at me all the time. So I'm just like, and I tend to get loud and I'll like scream back and defend myself because I'm a fighter, not a flighter.
Mhm.
I'm a freezer now. I just realized as of Monday. Now I just shut down and I'm like, okay. Um, but I went
Feel
over as I went to go to the front door to to go knock. I got to like the top of their fence line and their dog came running out. And whenever their dog's out, it just um that dog and Thea have had fights at the fence line before, but
yeah.
um so his wife came out and was yelling at her dog. And so I just stepped back kind of like because I was on the side of the house and I stepped back so I could see her and I was like, "Oh, hey, would you mind just turning your music down a little bit? Because I'm trying to work and it's really distracting and I can hear it in my office upstairs in the house." And she was just like, and she just walked right back into their house. And I was like, all right. So I came back over, I came upstairs. I'm sitting up here waiting for my client to come into the session. Thank God my client was a no call, no show during this time. Because then my doorbell rings. And I'm like, I know who it is. I know it's the neighbor.
Yeah.
Going downstairs, I'm trying to like do my deep breathing because I always go into like that. He's gonna start screaming at me. I just know it. So I'm gonna start shaking. And I'm like, maybe it's not them. Like, don't think worst case scenario. It is what it is. So I go downstairs, open the door, and it's him and his wife, and they're both standing there. And he was like, we're not doing this with you again all summer long. And I was like, doing what? And he was like, our music isn't that loud. You can just deal with it. This is, our backyard. We're not gonna sit. And I said, listen, you're not the only person who lives here. I said, I just came down there to ask if you could turn it down because I am working. He's like, it's a holiday. We're gonna listen to our music in our backyard. And I was like, okay. I was like, but can you just turn it down a little bit? We're not turning our music down. It's not that loud. I'm so sick of you. You have a problem with everything. And I'm like, nope, just when I'm working and your music is loud. Like it is what it is. So
Yeah.
he's great. And I was just like, I said, fine. If we can't talk about this, I said, my only other option, I'll just make sure I call the cops next time. And he was like, yeah, don't you ever come on my property. You better only call the cops instead of coming over here telling us anything. And I was like, okay. And I just shut the door. And then I realized like I'm like shaking. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's just screaming. Like, what is wrong with people? Like, I'm just asking a nice, friendly, like calm conversation.
Yeah.
As I come upstairs into my office, my window right here is like the front of the house. And our driveway is like maybe, I don't know, 30 feet
Hmm.
till you
Hmm.
get to the sidewalk in the street. I can hear him screaming at me as he's walking down the sidewalk back to his house, just screaming. go back to where you came from. I'm so sick of you. Like, I'm just like, is this real? Like, do people really act like this at, like, we're not in like, we're like in a nice neighborhood of like, civilized people. And here this guy is just screaming at me at the top of his lungs, cussing me out with his wife. And I'm like, if I were her, I'd be so embarrassed. My ex-husband used to do this. I was so embarrassed all the time. I'm like, you're just screaming. You're just screaming about nothing. Like, why are you screaming? Like, just talk normally. But
Yeah.
emotional infant, emotional children, emotional adolescents, it was like that, the reminder, that perfect reminder. And so I'm like, you know, old school mind. I'm flooding through like, what's everything that I can do? How can I get back at this guy? I'm gonna put a floodlight in my backyard. I'm gonna shine it so bright in their backyard. So anytime they're out there, you can listen to music as loud as you want, but the louder your music gets, the brighter the light gets. And I'm just thinking of all
Okay.
different things that I could do to like, do I play my music louder than him? Because my mom used to always joke, and she's like, well, I wonder how they would feel if I went out there and just started blaring my Christian music at the as loud as I wanted to. And I was like, if you do it, make sure it's like 5 a.m.
Yes, like the rooster crows.
The natural, like that vindictive, like, how do I get back? How do I get even with this
Yeah.
person? I feel like that's like our fault. Like our
Mhm.
sinful nature just goes to that. And instead, I was like, take a deep breath. I was like, Lord, I'm going to pray for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to pray for them. I'm going to pray for them. Like, please, I know my mom doesn't want to deal with this. The only reason why I'm the one who's been going over there in the 7 years they've lived here to have these conversations is because you're conflict avoidant. So she doesn't ever say anything. She just smiles and waves every time. Be nice to the neighbors. And I'm like, but you're peacekeeping because you
Mhm.
guys are miserable. You don't sleep at night. They're out
Yeah.
there till 11, 12 o'clock sometimes with their music playing, and you're just trying to hopefully sleep through it.
Yeah.
And so when I finally got here, she's like, will you go ask them to do this? Because my mom knows that I don't care. I'm not gonna back down from a fight.
Mhm.
Um, so I did. I asked them to nicely turn their music down multiple times throughout the course of the past 3 years, and this is the third year. And the one time I went over there, and his daughter was out there, and she's in high school, and she had I want to say probably like 12 friends over. And high school boys are so obnoxious and loud, so they're jumping in the pool, screaming, like just being, I mean, it's loud, and they don't have a privacy fence. Like if they were to put up a privacy fence, it would have absorbed some of the sound. We wouldn't have to see it, like whatever. But they didn't do that. So now my mom wants to build just a half a wall right there just to block them out. So,
Yeah, I
and
don't blame her.
if that's not saying like we don't like looking or hearing, like whatever. But I went over there and I was like, hey, and this was probably my dad died in August. This was probably in June, or it had to have been July. So a month before my dad died. My mom hasn't, and my mom is still working, mind you. So she's still getting up at 6 a.m. to go to work. My dad's up, you know, they're trying to go to bed at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I went over there. She came out of her room and was like, those kids are just being so loud. And I was like, do you want me to go ask them to take it inside? It's 10:30. Like, I can ask them if they can bring it inside. And she was like, would you please? And I was like, okay. And I knocked on the door and I was like, hey, and this is what I said to him. How much longer do you think your daughter's going to be out in the backyard with her friends? And he was like, well, I mean, like, I was going to have him come in like a half an hour. And I was like, okay. I was like, my mom and dad are just trying to sleep and they can't because they're really loud and they're screaming pretty loudly back there. And if you could just have them bring it inside or, close it up soon, that would be really helpful. And he was like, well, it is her summer. And I was like, I understand. If you could just pack it up and bring it in soon, that'd be great. I just appreciate that. And it's like the inconsiderate, like you
Mhm.
have neighbors who are literally dying,
Yeah.
stressed out, aren't sleeping. You don't give a crap about it because you want your daughter to have a pool party at 11 o'clock at night. Like they got out here. Why are they just coming to anyways? So I was just like that just showed me who they are as people. And I was just like, okay. And in my mind, I'm like, I hope when somebody in your family dies or gets sick with cancer or isn't sleeping well or all of these problems are happening, you don't have neighbors like you. Because it was just, I don't know, I was just so upset about it. It really broke my heart, or I was just like, wow, people really just don't care about anybody but themselves sometimes.
Mhm.
So I was praying about him and I was praying about it. And the Lord told me to bless them, just like he says in this book, like, be generous, be a blessing to people. That's what
Mhm.
making peace is.
Yeah.
So I called you and I was like, hey, could you, how you send me coffees every once in a while, would you send them a coffee from Starbucks? Um, and I'll Venmo you. And then I went to Costco and I came home and the Starbucks was on my own front porch. So they didn't want my peace offering. So I tried to extend a peace offering. I've always tried to extend a peace offering to them. They don't care. They don't want to talk. They don't want to compromise. Um, they just want to yell and scream and be loud and can like that domineering nature, that
Mhm.
narcissism comes out. Um, which has then made me remember, I can't remember if it was my client, one of my clients told me that her uncle's a psychologist. She's like, he said the best thing that you can do is respond with, okay, 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 okay.
Yeah. Yep. Not feed into it.
You don't feed into it. My favorite thing, I've been watching Bones, is when she looks at people when they say like sarcastic things or like social cues or whatever, and she's like, I don't even know what that means. I'm like, that's my new line. Like that I will be dropping on everybody who wants to like say something negative. And it happens, like you get those trolls on the internet that want to say negative things to you or make fun of you and criticize you. And I've done it a couple of times where I'm like, I have no idea what that means. And if somebody's genuine, I think they'll answer the question. But if they're being the dismissive, like provoking,
If it's
aggressive,
just they're doing it to be mean, then they're not going to bother. She
bother.
still says that in season 6 because it was on TV the other night as I was flipping through, and literally in the 10 seconds I'm watching it, I don't know what that means. Like, it's her favorite line.
And I'm taking that from that show. Thank you very much. That is my new therapy line. I don't even know what that means. But
Awesome.
um,
Well,
then I have
you
other
nailed it.
ideas of like, okay, so what's another way I could reach out to them? And then everybody's like, don't waste your time. Don't waste your breath. They obviously don't care. They don't want anything to do with you guys. Like, just pray for them. And I'm like, all right, that's what I'll do then. So I did
Until
your cheek. I didn't get angry.
I
Um,
remember, I don't remember who the conflict was with exactly, but I was talking to another friend about it a long time ago, and she was like, "Well, it's not like if their house was on fire, like you wouldn't throw a bucket of water on it. Like, it's just people don't think about, until they're in a desperate situation, uh, who they are as people, and then how you are responding to them, and then they reconsider it, and that it might come down to that. There might be come to a moment where they need your help on something, and you're going to be like, sure,
yeah,
and
my
that's
mom said that. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, it's fine. I just think it's interesting how God will turn the table
Hmm.
because
And it's
there,
always his timing.
yeah, yeah, it is, and
Told my
he's
mom, I
doing
am not
something.
moving out until your neighbors like me. They're going to be stuck with me until they learn to be kind. I'm just going to be here smiling the whole time.
Yep. It probably really, I think just in the job that I'm in, I have encountered a lot of people who, if you're not getting upset in response, it makes them even more upset
Mhm.
because it's a validation thing for them, that they've gotten to you or that they have the
Just,
control of the situation. And
yeah,
I have definitely had those moments where actually those people end up being, not that I want them to be, but they end up being more fearful towards me or more uncomfortable around me just because I'm centered. And I know that's something they are seeking.
yeah.
So at the end of the day, I know there was one particular person who we were all in this, we were pulled into this meeting, and it was the way something had been handled was kind of messy, and a lot of people were confused about, well, what are we supposed to do? What's the plan here? And she had projected all of that at me. The email was to me, and it was this very big long rant. She CC'd all my colleagues on it. She CC'd her boss on it, not mine, interestingly enough. Um, and then I went into this meeting and everyone's discussing it and she's popping off, right? She's going through, here's what I wrote in this line of this email and this line and this line and this line. And I waited. I didn't speak until the very end of this meeting. God just said, just be still.
Shut
And
your mouth. Listen.
yep, exactly. And it was making her, she was getting more and more like, you know, right, Laura? Right, Laura? Like, because I wasn't saying anything. And at first I said, I'm just going to wait until when you're done explaining, I will then put in my 2 cents. And at the end of the meeting, I said, I think from now on, we need to have these sorts of conversations in person because email's too confusing. And that's all I said. And everyone around the table except for her went, because that's what the issue was. It was miscommunication. And the way that it had been handled was very like, here, do this, bye. And there were a lot of people involved. And so you can't always make it work that way. So I think, when it comes down to it, the lack of accountability for a lot of people, that can be a really hard thing. Um, Having to take ownership and be in control, having self-control. They don't want that. They would much rather be like, no, don't question me, just do the thing and move on. Like, don't waste my time.
That just reminds me of like how toddlers are. Like kids, tell me what to do. Tell
Right.
me what can and cannot do. And I was like, nobody told you anything. Like it's a simple request. You
Yeah.
could have very easily looked and said, we're not gonna turn it down. I would have been like, okay, like what can we do then? But the moment you start screaming at somebody, and pointing, like that finger pointing when people talk at me, or they do this thing right here, like
Mhm.
you have aggressive body language that is extremely aggressive. Like you
Mhm.
can talk with your hands in like gentle ways, but when you start doing stuff like this and pointing and do like you're becoming aggressive. We're going to get into communication after a couple more books that we're going to read.
Nonviolent communication.
Yeah, we're going to talk about nonviolent communication. The words that we speak are 7% of language.
Mm.
Tone of voice and how we say things, I think it's like 30 something percent. And then our nonverbal language is what people watch. That is what we're aware of. So
Yeah.
less than what you're saying or how you're saying it, more of what your body language is.
Yeah.
So I'm not hearing anything he's saying. I'm seeing this and I'm thinking, wow, you're getting really physically aggressive with me right now. So even if I want to hear what you have to say, and this is like I remember posting something about this years ago, and this girl's like, you're tone policing. That's called tone policing. And I'm like, you can call it whatever you want. At the end of the day, this is neuroscience. This is how your brain and your body respond to words that are being spoken. So you can get defensive and say, you can't tone police me. I can say however I want, whatever I want, wherever I want, all of that. Um, but if that's how you're communicating, then you're only communicating to the people who agree with you.
Hmm.
And you're not actually looking for a change to happen. You're looking to be glorified
Yeah.
and praised for what you're saying. And that is like just like Satan, I tell ya. That's all he wants is to be heard, it's in your face screaming things at you. Where the Lord is like, I have a soft and gentle voice for a reason. Because you have to get quiet enough to hear it. We have to,
Hmm.
and that's what a lot of what this book has really been about is becoming quiet and still and hearing the Lord's answer. Because if I didn't get quiet and still with my neighbor, I would have looked just as foolish as him, cussing him out, screaming back at him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why? What's the point of that?
And I think it also comes down to having core values as a person. Who am I? And, what do I believe? What is my purpose on this planet? And I know that challenges are going to come, and I know that people are going to fight me in different ways. And I mean, even the Bible says that. And here's another testament is that the closer you get to God, the more adversity that you will experience. And I feel like that's probably your situation now too, because that's how you know you're growing. So adversity is also a good sign, but
Mhm.
it does get really hard. Things are really going to be, your loyalty is tested. And but also what a cool way for God to be like, yeah, you're walking in the right direction. I know this feels terrible, but uh, you're really putting to the test like what you've been learning. So here we go.
I always think about that one scene. I can't remember what movie it's from, but it's the girl that was she's got the long brown hair. Um the only movie I know like that I first remember her from, which I didn't watch this movie, but she's the 50 Shades of Grey girl. What is her name? Dakota something.
Dakota, yeah, Johnson I don't remember her last name, but now, yeah.
There's a scene where she's eating cereal in the morning and her boyfriend's at the other end of the table and he's like, I think we should break up. And she was like, and she looks up at him and she's like, okay. And he's like, that's it. She's like, well, what do you want me to say? Like, you're breaking up with me. He's like, well, you're not gonna like you're not you don't feel anything, like you're not upset about it. And she's like, you're breaking up with me and you're mad at me for not being upset about it. Like it's just like she keeps her cool. And
Hmm.
I don't know anything about the movie. She could be the narcissist in the movie, or he might have been the narcissist, and she's just finally at the point where she doesn't care and she's not reactive or responsive to his narcissism anymore. And she's like, so I guess you're gonna have to find your own apartment soon. And he's like, I can't believe you're not. And he's getting, like, but she's not giving him an emotional reaction, which is likely what he's looking for because he probably is the narcissist. But
Hmm.
being able to stand at a door or in front of somebody like that and just kind of look at him and be like, do you talk to your like I wanted to look at her and be like, does he talk to you like this? Are you okay with how he's speaking to women? I'm a human being. Like I'm not like some tool and that's the it thou thing he was talking about.
Yeah.
He treated me as an it
Hmm.
and I had to do everything in my strength to treat him as a thou in that moment. And that is a challenge.
Yeah.
It is extremely difficult to not get defensive in those moments. But I'm
It
just like,
it is, it's hard. And for sure, because it would be so much easier to treat somebody as an it.
well, it's easier to mirror people. We that's what we do naturally. That's the social phenomenon is we mirror people, which is why camouflaging is such a real thing. And
Yeah.
until you know who you are and you have your identity, which is what this whole series of books we've been reading is like building your authenticity and knowing who you are. Um, but if we don't know who we are in Christ, I mean, who are you and what is your identity rooted in? Because if it's that, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want to be around that. I don't want to listen to that. Like that's embarrassing to me. It's humiliating. It's not embarrassing. It's humiliating. He was trying to humiliate me
Right.
by using force and power and dominance. And I'm just like, okay. Like I've been in so many abusive relationships. Like I am not about to let you get under my skin and I'm not going to be reactive to this anymore. Like I'm done.
Yeah.
Done being screamed at. Like this is ridiculous. Grow up, learn something, educate yourself. Go see a therapist. I know a good one.
She's sitting right in front of me.
Never want to talk.
Hmm.
Talk to him like anybody else who's going through anger management and difficult times. Like you have unresolved issues. I'm guessing your dad talked to you this way or your mother talked to you this way. And that's why you act that way and react that way. But I'm like, you have a wife and a daughter at home. And all you're doing is showing them that it's okay for men to treat them this way. Your
Yeah.
daughter's going to be in a relationship with a man who thinks, and she's going to think it's okay for him to scream at her because that's what you do.
Hmm.
That's
You've
what
normalized it.
irritates me more than anything. Like, don't ever date a man like your father. Like, that is ridiculous.
Mm-mm. And I feel like that's something this is why it's so important to be self-aware and uh, introspective. Is that what I'm saying? Saying that right? Because I know in my own family, there's patterns of people basically marrying their own fathers. Not literally, but the people who they are married to are mirroring who they grew up with. And it's because those behaviors were normalized that they don't even question it. And then later on, things are hard and they're awful and abusive and they're wondering why
It,
do I feel the way I do?
They do question it. The
Hmm.
what happens is we look for partners. Our inner child is attracted to a partner that we think as an adult we can fix that person to receive the love that our father never gave us. And so it's familiar to us, so we're attracted to it. And then we think we can, well, I can love you into being nice to me because I'm desperate to have that connection the way that I didn't get it with my dad. So you remind me of my dad, and now I'm going to fix you so I receive the love that I never got from my dad. And that is the problem.
Yeah.
That man is not changing. If that is who he is, that is who he is.
Hmm.
Unless he goes to his own therapy and does his own thing and all of that, like it's not changing. He has to see this is not okay that I'm talking to my wife or my girlfriend or whoever, my kids, my family this way. And if he doesn't see how he's speaking as a problem, you telling him it's a problem is not going to change it.
Agreed. And I think that's where if you want something to change, it has to be you. Whether, whether it's going to be the only thing that you can control in your own life are your words and your actions. And
Yeah.
so if it comes down to it, that, you've done everything in your own power, which if you're also, you should be tapping into that supernatural power. Lord, what do I do in this situation? How do you want me to respond?
Mhm.
And he might also just be saying, it's time to be done. It's time to walk away from it. Or it might be, stick it out and trust me. But that's why it's also important to have those quiet times and to listen. But I think I had a kind of a moment yesterday too, because, and I was texting you about this, me realizing just how much emotion I still carry from the side of the family I haven't seen in so long. And in my quiet time with God, me realizing that I'm still struggling with that powerlessness, feeling like when I'm in their presence, like I don't have autonomy.
Mhm.
And that was something that just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, and the Lord saying that's not the case now. Like you are a grown woman and you can say yes or no, you can walk away, but you can also just go in there and have a nice conversation. Like it doesn't have to be like it was. So I've been trying to make arrangements so that I can go to dinner and see my dad. And um, he called 2 or 3 times. We're working out the details of how this is going to go, right? And they live maybe 10 minutes from where our conference center is. So first he's like, well, we can go to dinner and you have this 2 hour window. And yeah, I said, we have a worship service to get back to. And he said, okay, that's great. We're only a few minutes away and I can pick you up. We can go to dinner or we can meet somewhere. And I was like, let's meet somewhere. So then he calls back and he says, well, Grandma wants to see you. What if we go see Grandma first? And then we go to dinner. I'm like, at first, you know what little Laura did? Internal Laura said, okay, didn't even question it.
Yeah.
And I hung up. And then I called back immediately because God was like, why'd you do that? There's a reason why I don't want to go into
For territory.
her territory. And that is because behind that door, I was treated very differently than I was in public.
Mhm.
And for that reason, for emotional safety, I need to be outside. I need to be in the public eye. Um, so I called back and I said, I think I would rather us meet somewhere halfway. Let's find a restaurant, whatever it might be. And he said, okay, that's fine. So here I'm thinking the conversation's done. He hangs up, calls back maybe 2 seconds later. Hey, what if the kids come too? What do you mean by the kids? So I also have several aunts and uncles I haven't seen in a very long time. And there are 5 boys in that family. So my dad lives in that town, and then his twin brother, lives just a little bit a ways from him. And he meant my cousins and their children, none of whom I have ever met. I've met my cousins, I haven't seen in a long time. And at first I was like, this is the other side of me comes out. Well, I don't know. I feel like maybe that would be too much. And I was kind of thinking, maybe just you, me, and grandma. And now Jess is going, so thank you. Uh, Mag,
Emotional support person here.
he's gonna need it. Um, and I was like, well, yeah, I just don't know if that would be too inside of me. I'm panicking because now I'm starting to think I have to put on a happy face and pretend like I'm not hurt and pretend like I don't have issues with these people who I haven't
The
seen.
purpose of us even doing this.
Right, right. And he goes, and I'm expecting fully pushback. And then something happened that I did not expect, and that was, well, he said, if that's your preference, that's okay. That's uncommon for this relationship. And I'm also realizing in that moment that God has healed a lot of things between me and my real dad over time, even though we haven't seen each other in a long time. We are far better off than we have ever been.
Mhm.
Um, but just that also he was like, you know what you need to do is you're going to be spending a lot of time with me over the next week, and you're going to be focusing on getting rid of that emotion so that you can walk into that restaurant and be okay. Even though it's just a group of people, and like just see them as people, just love on them and get rid of the fear. And I think that's one of the things too, is like, there's so many of these, there's memories and there's things, there's trauma, there's, situations like with your neighbor where what if, and all those feelings come flooding back to you. But that's a true test too, where God just says, this is where you're learning to walk through fear, you're learning to push through. Um, Forgiveness is a huge one, and just, but also you're learning what limitations mean, and how it is to be an emotionally healthy adult. So, um, there's a lot of things that I feel like I'm going to probably be processing up until that point, but it was it was just a really interesting day. And then just flood of emotions came out after that. After finally I hung up the call and I was like, is he going to call back? What's going to be next? Are we going to Disney World? Like, what's happening? But it was fine. So we are going to meet halfway. It's like a 4 mile drive. I'm like, I think I can handle that. But I'm also really glad that we'll be coming back to a worship service after that because that'll be nice to decompress too. But
Uh,
I mean, just what a wild ride. Like, there's so many things that when God says, if you're really serious about following me, you have to know that I just I just triggered Siri when I said the other word. Um, you have to know that it's going to get hard, and like I'm going to test you to see, do you really mean it? And you're going to face things that you really don't want to, but there's a reason why I'm having you go through it. And I know, especially for what we are doing with everything in Belize, I know that this is part of that process. And he's given me the bigger picture. He's like, do you want this? And I'm saying, yeah, absolutely, I do. Like I've thought about this for 2 decades. And he says, okay, well, here's what you have to do to get there. And
I remember when I first came home uh, in 2015, after my first like really bad breakup. But my mom had said to me when I was starting uh, my master's program, and she looked at me and she said, you have relationships inside this family that need to be mended. So, how do you expect to help other people mend their relationships as a counselor if you haven't learned how to mend your own first? And I was just like,
mm,
touche.
hmm
Those are like those, thanks, mom. I hear myself say that to people later on. But that's kind of similar to this situation where it's like,
yeah,
you want to go help people find wholeness in their own families. You have to experience, you have to know how God can do that for you. If I
mm,
haven't experienced and I don't have that unshakable, unbreakable trust with the Lord, and to me, that's the wall we go through. Like we're going through this wall. So when we come to the other side and we're actually equipped to do the work that God has called us to do, we trust Him beyond all measure. There's
yeah,
nobody, people. I remember back when I was like first becoming a Christian, and people would be like, God isn't real because of blah. And they'll give me all these scientific and all their opinions and everything else. And I would be like, oh, that's that. Okay, I can see where that would, where, well, is that real? Like, let me, and I was questioning it. But as time went on and I, took all of these questions to God and was like, is this real? And then he'd show me the answer. And then real things would happen in real life and experiences would happen. Like, once you experience something in the supernatural, there is nobody or nothing on this earth that can convince you that
Mm.
it's not real.
Yep.
But that equally has to be applied to people who don't believe in God, because when people live in delusional worlds, that delusion is very, very real. And so to try to talk them out of that delusion,
Hmm.
you can try, but if you're not doing it with the love of God and the Holy Spirit isn't at work, because the Holy Spirit is who changes your heart.
Yeah.
Like, we don't just go one day like, oh, I'm going to be this, go from being evil to being good. Like,
Mm-mm.
that doesn't just happen. You have a spiritual awakening, and it's when the Holy Spirit, when I was at that point in my life when I was like not hearing anything positive, always just negative everything. You're not good enough. You're a victim. You're this, you're that. All of these horrible things about myself, just debilitating, like life sucking, negative, irrational thoughts, lies, curses, so to speak, that I was believing.
Hmm.
I could study psychology and read these books all day long. And will it help me renew some parts of my mind? Yeah, I'll start to understand things, but the fear will still be there
Yeah.
because it is our faith that supersedes fear. You don't get rid of fear. Fear doesn't just go away. It's like when I work with patients who have severe anxiety. Anxiety is based in fear. You are afraid of things. If you want to get rid of anxiety, you have to stop being afraid of things. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, so how do I stop being afraid of things? You freaking face the giant. You go out there and you face that fear. You do it over and over and over and over and over until you realize I'm still living. Life is still moving forward. I'm still like doing life. And you start like all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's not nearly as scary as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Most of our fears aren't like, I'm afraid I'm going to be attacked and mauled by a bear. Yeah, maybe when you're in the woods, you're like, okay, this is more likely to happen. Most of our fears are that person might not like me. That person might do this to me. What are they going to think about me? What do people think about me? I would say most of our fears are rooted in what people think about us.
Hmm. For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably something I'll be wrestling with this week, and that's something that I have to learn to just give to God and place it at the altar.
Well, what if you knew so deeply inside yourself that you are going to be respectful, that you are a caring person, that you are considerate, that you are generous. When you know those values of your character, it doesn't matter what my neighbor says about me.
Yeah.
He'll probably tell everybody I'm a biatch, I'm this, I'm that. He probably has all of those opinions under the sun. And if I was afraid of what he thought of me, I would be people pleasing to get him to like me.
Hmm.
Instead, I'm like, no, I know who I am. Like, you can think, you could say, you can do all of that. Like, I know who I am. I know what I do. I know what I bring to the table. Do I come across a little brash sometimes? Am I a little bit too forward? Yes. And I will take responsibility for that when that emotion comes out. However, I'm not an evil person, and I know that. So before, I didn't know that. I
Hmm.
thought I was all of these ugly things that people said about me. I had the Holy Spirit, God had to love me out of that.
Hmm.
And you can't get that from a psychology book. You can't get that from a counselor.
Right.
You're not getting that from other people. Other people will help fill that and they will, and God's people will love on you in those ways. But you have to know that without a shadow of a doubt in your relationship with your creator before anything else.
Hmm. Amen. Amen. And I think also God doesn't want you to carry those fears or those hurts anymore. He says, I want to heal you. Like, please let me, you know. And it is a choice. It's one of those things, yeah, you can go forward and you can always look at people and with an intimidating stance, or you can just trust me and maybe there's going to be emotions attached to it, likely if it's deep, you know, but by allowing those to filter through you, then you're going to be better for it. And I think that's anytime that I reflect on, you know, even forgiving my stepdad a couple months ago and how much it's changed our relationship. And these are the things that, just like what you just said, like if you want to help other people, that it's also going to become a testimony to, well, I can tell you what God did for me. I don't know that he'll do the same for you, but I can tell you that you can get to the other side.
Yeah.
And until you walk through that in your own personal life, you don't have the conviction and the courage and things that you're going to need to be able to help that other person. So powerful,
Absolutely.
powerful things.
So my encouragement for you this coming up next weekend is to not walk into this time with your family as the wounded little Laura,
Hmm.
but you walking in as the Laura that you know you are, holding the hands of that little Laura to show her, I will protect you. I am here. You're not going to be hurt. I will stand up for you. I will speak for you. You don't have to fight back anymore.
Hmm.
And that is how we heal our inner child. Like we become the person that we needed our inner child's to be protected by. You know,
Hmm.
if you needed somebody to tell you everything was going to be okay when you were a little kid, then you need to be the person who tells you, you know what, everything's going to be okay. We're going to get through this.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. We'll feel a lot of emotions, but all of that is valid. It's okay. Feel those feelings. Let those feelings out. Let them come. Give them to the Lord. Like there ain't nothing you can feel that he's not prepared for. He gets it. Like he walked in our shoes. He knows all of the emotions we go through. And that's where like we were talking about the empathy, having this empathy debate in our group, our I am who I am group. And people have a lot of different opinions about empathy, and there's a lot of different research out there. I tend to agree with what how Brene Brown describes it and my own experiences. And it's, you know, people think it's I put myself in your shoes to understand where you're coming from because I've been in your shoes before. And that's not empathy. Empathy is not experience. Empathy is not cognitive.
Hmm.
Empathy is how do you feel? Devastated? I know what it feels like to feel devastated, not in the same context of why you're feeling devastated, but my emotion of devastation is just as valid as yours.
Hmm.
So I can sit in this place of being devastated with you without trying to change it, without trying to fix it, without trying to correct it, without trying to do anything about it.
Hmm.
Empathy brings us in. Have you ever seen that movie, What Dreams May Come, with
But
Williams?
I did, but it's been so long I don't remember much about it.
So one of the scenes towards the end, so the whole movie is about um his wife, he dies. I think he takes the kids to school or something one day, and they get in a car wreck and they all die. And then for years his wife is depressed and she eventually commits suicide. And then he's on this journey to, I don't know if he died or just their kids died. And then he was trying to help her through. And then she commits suicide. And so then he's left alone. But, anyways, his journey is to travel to uh, the in between place of heaven and hell, purgatory,
Mhm.
to try to rescue and find her. But along the way, the warning is you could become lost and get trapped here yourself if you can't get her to, you know, to want to come out of this. And there's a scene, I'm going to cry just thinking about it, that just depicts what empathy is for to me, where she's crying, they're like in the broken version of their house, and she's on the floor and she's just crying and she won't leave. and she's just sulking in the loss of her children and her husband and their family. And um, he's trying to, say, it's going to be okay. Come with me. He's trying to get her to come out of this place. The whole
Mhm.
time he's trying to convince her to leave, to leave. There's a better place. You can come, you can come. And I think that's what we do with people. We try to bring them out of that place.
Mhm.
And instead, he says, you know what? Never mind. I'm just going to stay here with you.
Mhm.
And to me, that's like, I'm not going to try to talk you out of this, but I'm
Mhm.
willing to sit here with you for as long as it takes.
Mhm.
And that is what I think we struggle so much with as people, is that we don't want to just sit in the dark place with people. We won't just sit there with them. We just try so hard to make them not want to be there. And it's until we sit there with them that eventually it's like, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
That's the I'm not alone part. I don't know why I'm getting so emotional about this.
I am too. I get it.
Um, but when you can just be there with somebody and not try to talk them out of whatever their pain is,
Mhm.
and you that is so Brene Brown talks about how empathy is the only thing that dissipates shame. And we all sit in our shame. We are so deeply embedded and rooted in all of the shameful things that have ever been spoken about us, over us, to us, about us, that we have said about ourselves, all of these shameful things. So like your cognitive distortions to me are your thoughts of shame.
Mhm.
Like you got to figure out what your beliefs, your thoughts of shame are. Because every time you reinforce those thoughts of shame, you isolate, you pull away, you want to be alone. And empathy, sitting with somebody in that place, telling them, I'm here. You don't have to go anywhere. I'll be here with you. I'll be here with you. I'm going to be here with you. That's what brings the healing to the shame. And now
Mhm.
all of a sudden, the shame is like, well, I can't be here because I need to be alone and you want to be with me. So if I'm with you, then I can't have shame. But do I cling on to the shame or do I cling on to this?
Right.
And that is what Jesus does. He doesn't judge us. He doesn't try to tell us to come out of this. He's not self-righteous and all of that. Like none of that. It's this is where you're at. Come with me.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm going to be here with you until you choose to do that. I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to eat with you. I'm going to go to those places with you. I'm going to be with you
Make
wherever
me.
you are.
Yeah. Truly.
You're not alone.
Mhm.
But
And
when,
that I think that's what at the end of the day, I think that's what we need the most,
yeah,
is to know that someone else understands the depth of that pain. And and that's why God gives us each other to walk through it together. Like, no, I'm not going to try and make.
this is go through the purge or the
Yeah,
wall.
it is. But also, I think it's also that's part of being emotionally mature too, because an emotional child will want to run from that feeling like, no, don't make me do this, don't make me feel this. But an adult's can be like, no, we're just going to sit through this together. We're going to let it process, we're going to let it marinate, and we're going to come out on the other side stronger people.
And that's true with the early childhood development stuff too. Like so many parents just want to fix the temper tantrum instead of sitting with their kids and going, all right, like I'm going to be here next to you until this feeling passes.
Hmm.
Stop kicking and screaming and that emotion dissipates because your brain hits exhaustion. Emotions will come to a place of like there's an ending to it. If you allow yourself to just get there, just sit in it until it passes, it will pass.
Yep.
And now you can bring okay, what am I really upset about? What was spoken? What is objective about this? Don't get into the interpretation of things. Stop trying to predict what you think people meant by what they said, or it's these words were spoken, this action was taken. That is why I'm hurt. That's why I'm upset. That's why I feel angry, whatever it is. What can I do about it?
Yeah.
What control do I have in any of this? So, like with my neighbor, what control do I have? The only thing I control in this situation is my response. And I don't want to let that darkness in. So
Hmm.
I'm not going to respond out of anything that's going to be similar to how he's treating me.
Right.
That's why I did the whole, well, let me buy you a gift. Let me be generous. Let me give.
Yeah.
Let me give
You're
away.
showing love.
Away. And do I feel safe around him? No, not by myself, at least. Um, but I think at the end of the day, it's like, not alone. All right, God, you were with me. The Holy Spirit was like, those like funny memes where you're like, I'm gonna do that. And the Holy Spirit's like, don't say zip it, zip it. Hold,
Yep.
Lord, hold your tongue. And it's so true when he talks about how your tongue is a double-edged sword.
Oh.
Because as I try to cut my neighbor, I'm cutting myself.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then we don't know that we're cutting ourselves. It's like that video I posted about the wolves that will lick um, the Eskimos would, when they would have problems with wolves, they would sharpen knives and then they would make basically blood popsicles out of them. And they'd keep dipping them in blood, letting it freeze, dipping it, dipping it, dipping it. And then they would put them out for these wolves to come lick them. And as they're licking through the ice, the popsicle blood, the frozen blood, their tongues are going numb because it's freezing. And then they would keep licking and licking until they got down to the blade, and the blade would start cutting their tongues. And then that's triggering even more of like oh, I can smell fresh blood, not realizing it's their own blood. And they would lick and lick and lick until they shred their tongues and then they go off and they die. And that was the only way they could like protect their land from these wolves coming in and, eating their flock, their animals, their children, like attacking them and things like that. And he said that is like what trauma is like.
Hmm.
And it's like, wow, that sucks. But we do that to each other where we think that we're doing something for us when really we're harming. Or he was talking about how this is what it's like when you have multiple sexual partners. It's just slowly deteriorating and taking away a piece of you, a piece of you, a piece of you, and it's harming you and your body. But you're so, turned on, like it's triggering something where you're like, I'm attracted to it. And it's like, but you're not. You
Hmm.
don't realize that you're not. It's just this chemical release in your brain. You're living out of your animal instinct instead of out of your God-given design.
Yeah. And God can give you the power to overcome that, the strength to overcome that.
Yeah.
And
Those
it's
kids.
yeah, and that's like any other sort of addiction, there is a way out. It's just you have to know that that's why he says spend time in my word,
Mhm.
and I will always give you a way out when you are tempted, and you have a choice. But not that it's not going to be hard, but
Yeah.
there's and you can always ask for help too. Like if it's like I in my own power, I need somebody else to, hold me accountable or do whatever it is, like here's the truth of what's going on and I need your help. Can you please be there? And that's why God gives us other people and his wisdom
Ask
and
for help. Hey, I need.
asking for help. Yeah, that's being humble and being vulnerable, and those are
And
things that
Laura didn't do that, just so everybody knows. I volunteered it because she wouldn't. I was waiting to see if you'd be like, "Would you please come to dinner with us?" But you
oh,
did.
I would have. Yeah, you got around to it, but thank you. I think if you hadn't offered, by the time that we had got to, we're in the car this coming week, I'm like, would you just go with me? Because I don't want to go by myself.
Mhm.
But literally, I definitely am really glad that you're coming now because now that my aunt and uncle are going to be there too, and that's going to be the thing I work through this week is don't see the trauma, see the person, because
Yeah.
there's all sorts of things that the last time I saw these people, I was 19.
Mhm.
So
Which was
19,
just a couple years ago.
truly it was like, you know, I just turned 25, so that's another issue I need to work through. Lying about your age. But also that thing you sent me yesterday with 41, I love that so much. And I keep seeing that over and over and over again. And I feel like it all, just for our walk right now, I feel like that all is aligning, that's so true. Go through the things and
That show with uh, King David. They talked about the 40 days, 40 years. And I was like, this is my year. When I turn 41, Lord,
Yeah.
There's going to be a shift, right? Like that's going to happen. It's going to come together. It's going to happen. So,
Well, and it's only been within this past year or two that I've started to see all of those references in the Bible about 40,
mm.
40 days and 40 nights, 40 years. You know,
And
all
by
these
the way, we're both 40 turning 41 this this July.
Yep.
Excited about turning 40 is.
But
Which
we
is fun.
we've had a lot, just in the space and time that we've been getting to know each other, and all these things have been happening, and it's really evident that God's like, hey, I'm going to use both of you, and you're going to go do these really big, awesome things. But, first I'm going to put you to the test a little bit, and you have some things to fix. And I feel like that maybe that was year 40. You're fixing things with your mom and with your neighbor, and I'm fixing things with my dad's side of the family.
Fixing things that I'm learning how to heal the last childhood wound that I haven't addressed yet, which is the one with my mother. And she wasn't abusive or anything of those nature. It's my own internal dialogue of
Hmm.
wounded way of thinking, emotionally way of thinking as a child in regards to my mother and the ideal, the expectation, I guess, so to speak, that I would have,
Yeah.
who I think a mother should be and how a mother should be. And my mother is amazing. She's an incredible woman. But we are polar opposite ends of the feeling spectrum. And that's what we're working and navigating through. And for so many years, I have tried so hard to be like her, to not feel anything, to just let stuff go and who cares and it is what it is. That's like my life motto. But now that we've both worked through this book together and she's coming forward and she's saying, "Thank you for being patient with me as I'm learning how to deal with my emotions." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to have feelings with my mom one day." And that brings so much joy to my inner child, like, because I see her that way with my nieces and my nephews. I see her talk that way with her dad when he was alive before he passed away this past year. Um, and there was a part of me that would just feel so like jealous.
Hmm.
I would just have like this jealousy come over me. And I'm like, why does that bother me so much that she's being sweet? And then the next time I have something that I want to celebrate, she's like, well, what about this? And what about that? And did you think about this? And I'm like, why are you tearing it down? And then I'm like, and then, we talked about how Lord, you were here last past weekend and I built that garden oasis outside for my mom. And I'm like, well, maybe she'll really enjoy this because she was gone for the weekend. And her immediate response when she came home, she's looking and she's like, did you already have all this stuff in your storage unit? And I'm like, no, not all of it. Like, they're brand new flowers out there. I did not have those in my storage unit. And I'm like, well, no, some of it. And she's like, I thought you were saving for a house. It's like,
Heart sinking. Right.
my inner child literally was like,
Hmm.
mom does not like the gift that I just put together for her. It was like a child who does like a painting and is like, here, look at this drawing I did. And the parent's like, why did you draw that?
Yeah.
Like, it
Like
just
exactly.
immediately just stabs you in the heart. And you're just like, because I thought it was pretty and you would like it. Like, can't you
Yep.
just tell me, wow, that's really cool? Like, what is that? I don't even know. And they're like a giraffe. And you're like, I would have never guessed that. And like, but you share, like, it's so important to share in those exciting things with people to meet them emotionally. But my mom doesn't do that. And we find out, she's got a little bit of her own autistic tendencies and she has
Now,
a phlegmatic temperament. So emotions don't come natural to her.
yeah.
But later that night, she was out there and she's sitting in the rocker, and I can tell she's looking at it. And I'm like, okay, this was a change. My mom does not do well with change right away. And she gets up, she walks over, she plugs in the lights, she goes, she sits back down, she's looking around at it. And I know my mom, she's not a starter, but she's a finisher.
Hmm.
And she gets back up later, unplugs it, comes inside, and she's like, what do you think about this? And then she starts telling me all the ways that she thinks it could look better. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. I was like, I think it would be because the lights are, they're about 5 feet high. So you kind of have to duck a little bit if you're tall to get underneath them. And she's like, well, if we put them in planter boxes, it would lift them up about, at least 6 inches or a foot maybe. And I think that would look really pretty with those planter boxes I got. And then we can put, herbs and tomato plants and stuff inside of it. And then we can grow vegetables. I'm just like, so she really has to just take time to process things. And
Mhm.
that's with everything. So even when we're celebrating like, hey, we're doing this thing with, the Shattered into One and the doing the fundraising and going to Belize and building this community center, like all of that big stuff takes time to sink in for her. And I just want her to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Yay. But I think that's why God brought you into my life because you're the person who does that for me. And then I have my mom who's like, let's think about this extremely logically and process it and make sure, because she's a buyer. That's what she does. She buys
Yeah. Yeah.
millions and millions of dollars worth of products for companies, her company that she works for. So that's what she's thinking about is how can we get this for the best deal? And I'm like, this isn't a best deal. It's my feelings. There's no like best deal. Like I just tell me. And then, 2 days later, she was like, that really, thank you so much for what you built back there. It's so creative and it's such a blessing to have you here. And I'm like, finally, my mom loves me. It just took 2.5 days for it to come out.
For it
So
really to sink in. Yeah, no, and I think it's really interesting until you started describing your relationship with your mom to me. That's very much my marriage is very similar because my husband takes a long time to process and appreciate. And very early on in our marriage, that was a source of frustration for me because I would bring home something and I would change it or put up something new, and he'd be like, I don't know if I want it. I don't know if I like it, and I would just instantly feel completely shut down by it because I get excited about that kind of stuff. Like I am always like, "Oh, look, a new thing. Let's go do it." And he's like, "Uh, wait." And so I felt pretty isolated in that situation. I had never known somebody else who dealt with that. So that's another reason why God brought us together.
yeah.
But I think me taking time to understand that sometimes people just need a minute to let it sink in. And I think that's also been as an educator, that's one of the first things we're taught is individualization and differentiation is that some kids might take more time to learn things than others or to accept things. And, you know, I think it's a gift for those people who are like you and I who are like, yeah, let's go do it. Like, how many trips have we
Thinkers,
booked
go,
this
go.
year?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're just like, let's go to Italy. And I think we made that decision in like 6 hours. But, for other people who they might be like, okay, well, let's think about this. I'll give you an answer in a week. I'll give you an answer in X, Y, and Z. And that's where God develops your patience and your trust. And developing those relationships is going to be in His timing. And that's how He wants it done. Because oftentimes we are just the way that, like you said, inner child wants it is, will you please, acknowledge me? Will you please love me? But He's also showing, well, I can give you a better way if you give me a chance. I can give you a much more quality version of this and a more meaningful thing. But I think that's also healing your relationship with your mom because
Well, it also gives me a better understanding of like we all play different roles for different reasons for different people in our lives.
yeah.
And when something new and exciting is coming up, I come to you first. I'm like,
Mhm.
Laura, listen to this. And you're like,
Same.
oh my gosh, that's amazing. Heart emojis, all of the feeling stuff. And then I go tell my mom because I already have like that excitement shared with me. And then I go tell my mom, and I'm prepared more for, she's going to be very direct and ask a million questions. Don't
Yeah.
get defensive. It doesn't mean that she's cutting down. It's like, even I was telling her a story about what happened with the neighbor, and she's got this look on her face, and she's like, what, I'm not following. And I'm like, oh, tell her that this is a post that you made, and somebody gave you this feedback because I was just telling her the feedback, and she's like, why would you poison the neighbors? And she's like looking at me with a really concerned face, and I'm like, no, after the
Look at
post
it.
I sent, I was joking about baking them a baked pie, and everybody was like, don't do that because they'll think you're poisoning them. And then she starts laughing. It's body language, right? I'm seeing the look on her face and what her body language is telling me. And my inner child is immediately going, she's disappointed, she's mad at you, and I'm like, no, she's confused. Like that's
Yeah.
a face of confusion. Like, why are you seeing every face that's like this as like they're mad at you? But that's what I'm used to. You know, the
Mhm.
furrowed brows, the screaming at you. And I'm like, just explain it to her. And then all of a sudden she was laughing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to remind myself in these moments when I'm talking to this person that don't jump to conclusions. Stop
Right.
mind reading. And that's in this book too. Stop reading the other person's mind like you think you know what they're feeling and thinking about you. Those are your own feelings and thoughts about yourself. That's what
Yeah.
you have to deal with. Those are your insecurities that you're projecting onto the other person. And then you're reinforcing that that's a truth, even though it's a lie.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And you
So
have to catch yourself, and that's when you're spiraling. Like, this is the thing that you're worried about. This is the fear you have, and this is what you need to be talking to God about, because at the end of the day, there are certain things too that, like you said, like psychology can only go so far. Like, He wants to heal you of that, but that's where you need to be seeking Him for that supernatural healing, because it's going to be a thing that consumes you, and I think also, like, with the logic side of things, that's, very much my husband too, where he just has to think through and analyze. And I've had so many situations where he's come back a couple hours later and he's like, yeah, I think it's a good idea. And I'm just like, that's developing.
process through all 150 different scenarios that could
Girl,
happen.
I'm telling you, that is him. And even this morning, he made some joke about some Star Trek reference. And it took me a minute because, it was a very analytical, logistical joke. And he was like, haha, that's so funny. And I was like, I'm having to think really way too hard in order to get the humor out of this. But then I did. And then I did end up laughing because I got it. But like, that's the same thing. This is why we have to learn to appreciate where people are coming from. And I think,
Videos
that's,
where I'm like,
I send you those things all the time. And you're like, I don't know what
I don't get it. I don't,
that
I don't know what that means.
means. But I'm glad
And
that it
there are
was.
times where people explain it to me, and I'm like,
Nope.
I don't understand why that's funny.
Well, then you don't have autism, so it's okay. That's for the autistic crowd.
Okay. That's true. Those are the ones where I'm like, And then there was like, people that I know that are more autistic, they're like, that's hilarious. And I'm like,
But why?
oh yeah, but why?
Just benefit from our laughter. Like, that'll make you feel good.
Laugh with you.
Sometimes you can just laugh. People are laughing. Like, that's the best part, sharing the joy.
All right, so let's transition into chapter 8 talks about creating your rule of life. So this is, I think, just his version, his TM, so to speak, of doing this. This is very similar to what we use in the psychology world, the counseling world, known as the wellness wheel. And I know there's a lot of different people out there who create their own wellness wheel. I will probably do the same when I create my dissertation. And it's all about just finding balance in these major areas of wellness. So the wellness wheel, if you look that up, it's kind of like the feelings, the emotions wheel, and it talks about physical wellness, emotional wellness, intellectual wellness, spiritual wellness, social wellness, environmental wellness, um, financial wellness, and then there could be other areas. And so he talks about those in this book. My favorite thing, which is what I'll kind of spin off of and create my own, was this rule of life. And he says the word rule comes from the Greek word for trellis, which a trellis is just a tool that enables things to grow upward. Any types of plants that need a trellis. I have one. Actually, I'll show my new plant. So I bought this plant because I like the shiny leaves. But in order for this plant to survive, it has to have this plastic trellis thing to grow up, or
Mhm.
it'll just die if it has to lay down. So it needs help to grow upward. And so your rule of life he's talking about is this trellis that's helping you grow upward. Because a lot of people don't like that word rule. don't give me rules. I'm resistant to rules. And if that's you, you got some oppositional stuff you need to work through. Um, but the trellis is our life support. And so if
Mhm.
you don't have a wellness wheel or a rule of life, or what I would call it, the lattice of life, because I think that sounds pretty, your life
Mm.
lattice. What parts, and then it's like, okay, so this part of so if these are different like boxes, squares, when I first am growing, this is where I start. When that gets really solid and I'm firm there, I start growing into this next part, and then I start growing into this next part, and so on and so forth. So I'm working my way up this lattice, this trellis, so to speak. And it's enhancing my ability to deal with, I'm guessing, from this plant's perspective, it's an indoor plant, so there's not too many like winds and resistances inside my house. So it's got an easy life over here, so to speak. But when in the real world, when we're outside, we have a lot of external forces trying to take us down, trying to beat us up, trying to pack us back down into the dust, so to speak. To me, I would consider it shattering us. You get hit once, it's like a windshield. You hit it once, it might not do anything. You hit it twice, it might not do anything. You hit it a third time, you might have a little chip. You keep hitting it, those chips crack, they grow bigger and bigger and bigger until with a windshield, it explodes and it shatters into a bazillion pieces. Um, Pottery is the same way. Dust particles are part of that shattering. And to me, the more complex trauma you go through, the more abuse you go through, physical, emotional, verbal, betrayal, all of those types of things, they add up and they chip away at our identity and who we know, the love that we know. So as you're going through this walk of life and you're developing this rule for your life, essentially what you're doing is allowing the Lord to show you how he can put you back together.
Mm.
And
Yep.
we can put ourselves back together. I could, you know, spend a lot of time putting a puzzle together and it fits. It's perfect. But what Jesus does, what he did on the cross, what the Lord does is he takes that puzzle and he removes the cracks.
Mm. Mhm.
He fills in all of those broken powdered dust pieces that are missing that you can't pick up. They're too small to pick up. He becomes that inside of you. That is what makes you whole. So
Mm.
yeah, the puzzle piece looks great. The psychology, the counseling of that, it still looks cool. People hang puzzles up on the walls all the time. But you can look at it and see that it's a puzzle that was in a million pieces before, 100 pieces, whatever, that got put together by something else, by the person putting it together. To me, the way that I envision it is I can put those puzzle pieces together, but once I have the Lord doing it for me, you can't tell there was ever a puzzle piece here. I meet people now in my life, and if I don't tell them anything about my past, they would never guess that I have gone through the things that I have gone through.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's all because the Lord is who constantly fills those cracks that are still there. There's a book called Healed Without Scars. We might read that one in the future. But he talks about how, we go through and we can heal ourselves, but there's always a scar. You cut something. We'd use this in the psychology, the counseling world where we'll be like, here's a paper cutout of a doll, rip it into pieces. Like all those rips are abuse and trauma and things. And yeah, you can tape it back together, but you can still see all of where this thing was broken up and taken apart. God is who makes that picture whole for you without the cracks.
mm,
He is the one who removes the tears. So, yes, we can do it, but they're still there. How do you get rid of what's still there? You allow the Holy Spirit to really, truly heal you.
mm,
And to me, that's what Mark 5:34 is. Daughter, go in peace and be freed from your suffering. Your faith has healed you. It is our faith that heals us. It's not our knowledge. It's not studying everything. It's not knowing all of the answers to everything. That part helps because it allows us to like learn, like, oh, I'm not this. Like, it doesn't go that way. This is how the brain works. This is how my body responds to that. But it's the supernatural that actually brings I think, the true deeper healings.
Mhm. Agreed.
So,
Agreed. That's really pretty. It makes me think of there's also a type of Japanese pottery that have you seen that
with the
analogy where they use the gold to fill in the cracks, and that's what I think that's what God uses to fill in the cracks of our lives and of our
mhm,
past and of our heart, because He does look at us like we are gold, which, no matter what you've done or what you've been through or said or done, like He still views you as valuable as gold.
mhm.
I think is really beautiful. Oh,
And he says everything in heaven is made of gold, so that, just it all fits.
yeah. Yeah, it does.
All right. So, what are you doing to create your own trellis? And so it's learning, so going through like his little depictions are um elements of the rule of life, scripture. God speaks to us in and through his word. So to me, my trellis started with that, where God was like, don't worry about quitting smoking, quitting drinking, not hanging out with your friends, all of your behavior stuff. Like, because when you first become a Christian, you're like, everything in my life has to change.
All
And
wrong.
I do.
Yeah.
But then as time goes on, you realize your flesh is so naturally drawn back to that. And through my journey, the Lord told me, stop being so focused on quitting doing the behaviors and give me your heart. It's not, at first it's like your mind, because that was all I was doing was reading the Bible. So I'm like cerebral. And he's like, no, the Bible is your heart. This is your experiences with me. You're experiencing time, you're spending time with me. That's what I want. Commit to just doing that, and we'll worry about the rest of the stuff when it comes. But if you can get into the habit of constantly coming to me, give me your heart, bring me your heart, talk to me, love me, your mind and everything else will come.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, scripture, spending time with God, silence and solitude, being quiet, forcing yourself to lay down, to sit still, to turn your phone off, to disconnect from like Apple Watches, any sort of electronic anything. Have a space where none of that goes into. That is your electronic free space.
Yep.
Just sit in the silence, in the solitude. Connect with the Lord. Talk to Him. I would just lay and cry sometimes, and I would just be like, God, I just need to know that you're here.
Hmm.
And he shows up. I would journal, 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 journal. Number three, he talks about is the daily office, spontaneity. You can pray outside, go into nature, set aside time to examine a leaf, a flower, a tree, the grass, the sky. Give God praise for his creation. See the beauty in the world around you. Every time I go outside, I'll see something cool and I'm like, take a picture of that. Like, that's beautiful. I
Hmm.
have plants. Why? Because they're so beautiful. Like, this is a living thing growing inside of my house that I get to take care of, and it's still God's creation. And I'm like, I have the same plant. One, two, three, four, five, six. I have seven different versions of the same plant. Like there are so many, like everything is so individually and unique. No two trees look the same, no two people look the same. Like God never created anything to be exactly identical. See the beauty in his creation.
It makes me think of like the plant that's behind you is the one that's reaching towards you.
Mhm.
And it's just, I love that one so much because every time I see it, it's reaching a little bit higher, a little bit that what like an
It
encouraging
all around so it would start to regrow and strengthen the other side of it and grow this way.
working. Like it looks like it's like, hi. It's talking to you.
I've 4 new growths this year, so I'm super excited because that plant will get huge if I continue to allow it. And that thing was this big when I got it. It was just an itty bitty, teeny tiny ZZ plant, and now it's this huge. It just reminds me of like every time something dies off, something new grows. Every time something dies off, and that was that plant. Like I'm like every time I get a new, like I would see one of the branches would like start to wilter.
Mhm.
And I'm like, why are you dying? And then this brand new one would be growing. And I'm like, okay, so things die and new grows. Things die like, and that was my life during that whole time. I had that plant for 11 years. And it was like a piece of me. Every time a piece of me died off, a new part of me was able to blossom.
Yeah. It's
Now, these ones aren't dying off. It's just new things keep blossoming. And I'm like, ugh, is this like a new, like, I feel like God always talks to us in the way that he talks to us. And this is one of the ways that he shares with me, like, you were killing off and dying to a lot of old things, but now you're just growing. You're just growing. You've died off to so many old things. Now I just need you to grow new things, learn new things, try new things. And so it's just a beautiful, this I think why I'm so attracted to plants is it's life, it's energy, it's beauty. It's me. It's all the parts of me.
and
So,
it's also your emoji, which I think is so lovely.
gee, yeah.
Instead of the heart, she uses the plant, which is super cute. Yeah, I feel like well, I love fresh flowers. I have one. We're gonna work on this. I realize our house needs a lot more, but trying to find ones that won't poison my cats.
Succulent, you said?
Yeah, there's like three or four of them in there for whatever reason. Those they're hard to kill. So but start simple. Yeah.
Gosh, I, no, I disagree.
Oh,
Maybe for
yeah.
me, I've not been able to keep a succulent alive.
Did you overwater it? I think that might be the thing I read was because I when I first started raising succulents, it said that's the number one killer is that people water them too often. So it's like once a week or once every 2 weeks.
All
Just
I
a
know
little.
is I opened one of my boxes in my storage unit and I had two succulents in there.
Long since gone.
They're still there.
Oh, really?
They're dried out and dead on the inside and the outside still looks good or what, but they're still there. I had like one of those zebra ones, the zebra succulent looking
Oh,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can't. And the
I'll
other
have
one
to
was just
figure
like
this out.
purple and green flower looking one. But books were stacked on top of them, and I was like, "That's weird." Okay, no light, no water. You guys are good. Maybe I am. Maybe I am overwatering them.
That's what I'm saying. You can forget about these ones, and they're like, "That's fine. We're okay here."
All right. So elements of the rule of life. Back on track.
Hmm.
You've got to do your scripture reading. You need time for silence and solitude. You need your daily structure of spontaneity, but also your prayer time, your daily setting aside 10, 15 minutes a day throughout the day in order to do your daily office. Um, and then study. Intentional time reading and studying is a spiritual discipline. Um, they are important ways of encountering God in new ways. So, this is what we're doing. Our book club is all about this study time. Like, we're reading God's word, we're reading what other people are saying, we're reading and it's exercising your brain. It's opening yourself up to knowing that it just helps you understand how much you don't know that you don't know. We all live in a world of what we do know and what we know we don't know. Very few of us are capable of understanding the things we don't know that we don't know. So
Yeah.
anytime somebody brings a whole new concept or idea in, we're resistant to it. No, no, that's not true. You're this, you're that. That's crazy. And yet that is what innovation is. That is the only reason why our world is progressing at the rate it's progressing because somebody saw something that was impossible and figured out a way to make it possible. This is what the Lord guides us through in our lives. He is the impossible. He is
Mhm.
the all knowing. We are not. So if you're operating from a place where you constantly think that you know what you know and that's all there is, you're going to be stuck in a very immature place. You're not going to grow.
Yep.
Listen, become curious, be inquisitive, ask questions, take it back to the Bible and pray and ask God like what is there truth to this and what truth is there? What do I need to be paying attention to or opening myself up to or hearing? So, consider studying not simply for information, but for the purpose of formation in Christ. Pray back to God what you're learning. And then taking a Sabbath, developing a rhythm of setting apart a 24-hour period each week where you don't do anything that's work related. You just enjoy life. You do
Mhm.
fun things. you experience with people. And then simplicity. I love this one. How to just making your life simple. Primary issue here is to remove distractions and remain free from attachments. Live as free of complications as possible. So you're free to concentrate on simply pleasing the master. 1 Corinthians 7:32. Pleasing God. Um, don't put your kids in 3 sports at once while learning how to play an instrument.
All at the same time.
Don't buy every new electronic or technological item to help you save time. Don't have 5 credit cards, just have one. Um, it's learning to let go of like the perfectionistic, I have to have everything. What's going to be this? I got to get the newest thing. We got to do, go, go, go. I'm busy, 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 busy. We have so much stuff going on right now in our lives. On top of that, my doctorate program is yours is coming to a close, thank God. Mine's coming to a halfway beginning again in June, and I'll have 2 more years of that. So that part's going to get busy. We have the business that we're going, the fundraising that we need to do, the mission trips that we're taking. It's like we have so many things of busyness, and yet every day I'm like, all right, I'm going to spend time with the Lord first. I still have time to enjoy a show at the end of the night while I'm eating dinner. I'm able to find places for rest. Now, granted, I don't have children, but I take my dogs for walks. We go do fun things. I make dog food. Like, you, we are responsible for our time. And for some reason, it's like these parents that think their kids have to be in everything. Like, you're teaching them that they can take on the world and they're going to be the most anxious kids when they become adults one day, thinking that they can do it all. Sometimes kids need to learn that no is okay. You can't have that. We're not going to do that. There is a limit here. We need to work within our limits. It's not to say, oh, we're poor and we can't afford that. It's we're going to have to say no this time. We have other things coming up. For you and I, it's like, it's not buying all the little things that I want all the time. It's like, no, I got to save up money. We're going to Italy and I'd rather buy stuff there than buy stuff here. And you're like, I'm going to get all these outfits. And I'm like, why? Why don't you just buy outfits when we're in Italy? Like, how many times are you going to go shopping in Italy in your lifetime? Like, I said, I want to bring stuff back when I go on vacation. So I don't pack a ton, but I want to bring some stuff back when I come back. So,
I just need to have clothes to wear there because I've lost 50 pounds. So everything else is like a potato sack on me. So I have the bare minimum to make that happen. But I've given up Starbucks on the daily so that I can. I'm not kidding. I'm.
girl, because when you were here, I think we had Starbucks every day, and my body was like, what are you doing to me? Stop it.
Yeah, I know, but we
One,
desperate times, man. We were moving heavy stuff. So we made it happen though. But been making my coffee, my tea at home lately, and because I know I have my countdown timer, that's the other thing that reminds me 117 days. So I'm like,
yeah.
you could be putting that towards Italy or towards the beach or towards Belize. There are things that it's that discipline down the road is one of those things that it's a short-term suffering, but a long-term benefit.
Yeah. So the next one, play and recreation. The key here is to engage in activities that are pure and healthy and that breathe life into you. So what are you doing that brings life into you? What are playful recreational things that you're doing? Going and playing golf, pickleball, taking your kids to the park, playing card games, playing board games, um, taking your dogs for a WALK. Okay. So enjoying healthy, pleasurable things. There's a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. Like it's okay to have fun, but your life shouldn't just revolve around only doing fun things.
True.
And then service and mission is another one, which we do that. I want us, you and I, after all of this, to sit down and we need to create a plan for like what we plan to do with this community center and like align it with these guidelines. So,
I'd love.
service and mission. The question here is, in what ways is God inviting me to serve Him at this stage of my journey? So, my serving has changed every year. It's like seasonal, like serving at the church and the welcome center with the children, to doing community service stuff. to sometimes it's just serving my sister with her kids and helping out with the family. Now it's mission, like we're taking on a huge mission here and starting it in Belize. So, what passions and desires has God placed within you? In what ways can you use your time, talents, resources, and gifts for others? And it looks different for everybody. Some people don't have money to give, so they give their time or their energy or they sell their stuff or I give things away when somebody needs something. Like you were like, what is this? And I was like, you can have it. Like, I'm not using it. I haven't used it in years. If you want to use it and you want to, like, it's a nice purse, like, you can have it. So
Surprise.
somebody's junk is always somebody else's treasure.
That is true. Yeah. It came with a little friend. But we
Ah, you said there was a huge spider in there,
like
which
white spots.
because I had my hand in there and I was pulling stuff out, little things like pens and little whatever.
I don't think it would have phased you. You were that kid that brought home snakes, but Phil,
Um,
for me, so Phil actually informed me that he found said spider. He said, I just want to let you know that purse that is sitting in the kitchen. I was like, yeah, what about it? He goes, something big just crawled out of it. I said, really? He said, but I didn't hurt him. I just put him in a jar and I released him before you had the opportunity to have an anxiety attack.
Ugh, no way.
Yep.
Maybe he came from your house, hid in your purse, and then he found him.
He rode home with me, basically. That was a 3 hour car ride. I'm glad he stayed in his little pocket.
For some of us, the service and mission area, our challenge is to do something for others outside of our comfort zone.
Mhm.
For me, that stuff comes very easily. So for others, he says, like himself, the issue is limiting. How can I embrace my God-given limits and not go beyond what he is asking me to do? Because sometimes we do things that God never asked us to do, but we're doing them because we think it's like, this is good. I'm being a good Christian. I'm doing these things. But then if you also catch yourself having those same thoughts of like, does anybody appreciate this? Is anybody seeing what I'm doing? Nobody's great. Then you are working outside of what God has called you to do, and you are doing those things in your own strength
Yep.
for your
Yep.
own purposes and reasons. So check yourself in those areas. Um,
Like it should be on some level, even if it's minimal, it should be a sacrifice. It should be something that you're like, okay, I'm actually feeling the pull from doing this because my sinful nature says no, don't do it.
mhm.
What I
I
mean?
think honestly, when to tell the difference between if you're doing something in your own like out of your flesh or because you're looking for receiving validation or whatever versus if you know you're doing it for God is um the emotional response to what you're doing. Like as a counselor, I know this was a calling that God put on my life. Like this was what he created me to do. Because every day I hear people are like, how do you do this all day long? How do you just listen to people and their the worst parts of them and the horrible stuff and all day long you just listen and even I have friends that are like, don't you get burnout from this? And I'm like, no, girl, I don't. I never feel burnout at the end of the day. Like I've worked so hard at learning how to be alone. So when I am working, this is my social interaction. So that part like kind of fills my battery. Um, but I have healed everything inside of my heart through years of study and practice and growth and development that when I sit with people, there is none of me there. Like I'm there, I'm present, but there's no wounding. There's no I'm like I don't get frustrated because people aren't, growing at the pace that I think they should be growing at.
Mhm.
Like I'm completely 100% just empathetic. Like your journey is your journey.
Mhm.
If there's anything that God taught me in the 15 years of this journey, this wall that I've been going through, it's your journey is your journey. Nobody
Mhm.
else's journey is going to look like yours. Nobody else's pace is going to be at the pace of yours. This is where you're at. Other people, your job, our calling to love people is to love them where they're at, not to love them when they get to the place we want them to be.
Right.
Love them where they're at.
Yeah.
Guard your heart. Nobody deserves abuse. Nobody deserves to be mistreated. Like, if that's what's happening to you, you have to have a boundary. Like, you need your boundary. You need to know where, because that's going to protect that relationship. But love people where they're at.
Mhm. Mhm.
You want people to love you where you're at, not knowing that you're not where you haven't gotten yet. Again, always going back to I'm not where I used to be. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Like I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. This is where I'm at right now. We get caught up in when we're trying to be present, we're trying to stay focused, and we're trying to do the thing here, the past wants to creep in and get us in this loop, this cycle.
Mhm.
Well, you did this and you did that. Our focus should be on what I'm doing here and now that's going to lead me in that direction. Because the enemy is going to remind you of all of the things that he wants you to go in that direction, in his direction. And that's natural. That's
Mhm.
our natural inclination is survival instincts. Stepping out into the wilderness is like not a survival instinct. That's bravery. That's courage, right? We've read and we've learned about he talks about it in this book. Brene Brown talks about it in her book. The Bible talks about going into the shadow of a valley, of death. Those are
Mhm.
all those places. Those are the places that get you in the direction. This is solution focused. Most of us operate from a problem focused. I see the problem, I try to fix the problem, the problem, the problem. Stop doing that.
Mhm.
Identify what the problem is, then identify what the solution would be, and then work on making the steps towards the solution and how we get there instead of, well, we got this problem, we got this problem, we got this problem, the problem, the problem. All that's going to do is keep you stuck in this cycle of repeating the past.
Yeah.
You don't need to focus on, well, if I, like for you, well, if I go there, my grandma used to say this, my dad was going to say this, they're going to treat me this way. That you're getting stuck in this loop of being in the present and the past. The past is dragging you backwards. It's okay, if this is how they used to treat me, that was a problem. How do I respond to it now to get to the solution, which is trying to make amends? How do we work? I need to train my mind to think in this is how I'll respond to that. This is the love that I'll show. This is how I'll communicate. This is who I am. This is how I'm going to present myself.
Mhm. Mhm. Definitely it's something I'm actively working on in my mind all day long.
We all are,
Mhm.
sis. We all are.
Yeah.
So the next part is caring for your physical body. How do you care for your physical body? Your body is the temple. Are you drinking enough water? Are you eating nutritional food? Do you eat to your flesh's desires, or do you eat to what your body needs to thrive? Most of us eat what we want. That tastes good. I'm eating it. That tastes good. I'm eating it. Some of us, like you, can't eat those things because your body's like, nope, it's shutting down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier. It sucks because your battle is not getting caught up in the I can't have this. I can't have that. I can't have this. Where I'm like, man, if I couldn't have that, I think I'd be okay with that. Like, man, I wish I didn't like cheese as much as I do. And you're like, I can't even have it. So it's finding the balance between those things,
Mhm.
minimizing what are healthy ways of eating this, eat less of it, whatever. But taking care of your body, exercise, walking, stretching, sleeping enough, getting, adequate sleep. Listening to our bodies is an important way to listen to God. When we care for our bodies, we acknowledge the holiness of all of life and honor the fact that God is within us. Treat your body, it is the temple. Don't beat
Yeah.
yourself up. Don't overextend yourself in certain areas. Give yourself rest when you need rest. Like
Yeah.
we did after packing an entire storage unit for 12 hours.
We needed that rest, girl. I think that's going to be, I think about, like our Italy trip, I think I'm going to be one of those people who I am so excited at every site that we see. And then when we get on that train, it's going to be me going like this for 15 or 20 minutes. But yeah, that's part of,
Train rides are going to be us doing mental work, not physical.
right, right. Yeah. But also, reminiscing on what we just were able to see and do. And
I'll take a lot of pictures and videos that we'll share with everybody. We'll turn it into like some
a
sort of
girl on train.
learning experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next
I'll
one,
be excited.
emotional health. So
Okay.
this is as simple as paying attention to your feelings and journaling, talking about them to God. going to a counselor, becoming aware of what your feelings are. Um,
I often find that when my mind is overloaded, that it's because I have multiple feelings happening at once. And that's what journaling is so good for. It's just, I can write the narrative that is going on, the dialogue, and then I start to answer my own questions and it starts to make sense. And then all of a
yeah.
sudden it's empty, and I can think clearly again. And that's because I know that we have categories for emotions, but I feel like it's common for when you're confused about something, contemplating, walking through whatever it is, to have multiple emotions attached to it. And that's why our minds get so clouded. And sometimes I'll write 5 pages, like it, or, when I've been really stressed out, I've written 10, or whatever it might be, but I'll be there as long as I need to be there. And you have the freedom and the space to do that. And it's important.
And I like that you said that. So keep in mind, we have, I think roughly the research says that we have around 3,000 thoughts a minute.
Yeah.
In the cognitive triangle, 3,000 thoughts a minute means we also have emotions attached to all of those different thoughts. Feelings are attached. So, emotions, we have 7 primary emotions, which are like the first thing that we notice, which is why when you have multiple feelings to this one experience, we just kind of dumb it down to just anger or just all sadness or it's just happy. When really there's a lot of other things going on. That is the ambiguity, being able to tolerate this ambiguity. Can have two different thoughts that are in opposition to each other at the same time with two different feelings. When my dad was sick and dying, we're mourning, that's sad, but he's also saying some pretty silly things that's making us laugh. Yes, it's hallucinations, but it's like, am I allowed to feel that way? Can I be happy and celebrate here knowing that this very sad and tragic thing is also going on? That's allowing yourself to feel multiple feelings. It's living in the moment. If I'm
Yeah.
doing something where somebody's being silly and they're laughing, I laugh with them. But I can also grieve and mourn in the moments that I'm alone or when I'm thinking about that person.
I remember feeling that way. And I think I've told this story when my dad came out of his surgery in December and we didn't know that he was going to come out of it alive, and him making, he's always been good at movie voices, and him making the Rocky Balboa voice and just quoting the movie. And he doesn't remember doing this, by the way. He was just,
Coming out of his anesthesia.
yeah, he was on so many drugs, but I got to tell him that story again later. But like I had tears running down my face, but I was also laughing. Like the tears are relief, and
Yeah.
that me and Phil are just laughing because you're like, he's that's him. Like he's back, he's still here, and he's making us laugh. So that was probably one of the weirdest sensations of my life, because I felt both emotions so very strongly. But
Mhm.
it's okay. Like that's and I feel like that's, where God puts things into perspective. Yes, things might be hard and things might be um mentally tiring, whatever it is, but then also there's a light breaks through, and he reminds you that it's not all doom and gloom. The sun is, the quote that I love is, the sun is just above the clouds. All they have to do is part. And on cloudy days, that's what I try to remember. Like it's dark outside and I don't feel like going to work or whatever it is, and all of a sudden a little spot opens up and you're like, "Whoa, where did that come from? Look, sunshine." And it just turns everything around.
That song, my favorite song, Look for the Sun on a Cloudy Day. My mom always told me to look for the sunshine on a cloudy day.
Mhm.
Um, but that goes to communication too, like training yourself to recognize the many different feelings you have through journaling exercise practice, writing this stuff down for yourself. That is what builds and teaches you how to be empathetic towards others, how to dialogue through conflict, because you're both having lots of different feelings. Some of those feelings are in opposition of each other. And it's not telling the other person you shouldn't feel that way and this is why, or you should feel this way and this is why. It's this is just how I'm feeling because of what my experience is. I also equally want to understand what you're feeling because of what your experiences are. But the moment you start trying to tell each other why you should or shouldn't feel the way that you feel, It goes back to that cognitive distortion, the should statement. Stop shoulding on people. Stop shoulding on yourself and stop shoulding on other people. Stop being a shitting person.
A shutting person. That's borderline to,
Stop being a shitty person.
yeah, yeah.
Become aware of how often you have should statement thoughts in your communication and cut it off. Think of a different way that you can say what you want to say without telling somebody what they should or shouldn't do. That is not empathy. That is control. That is manipulation. So stay away from that. And it's very subtle. Ask questions, bring clarification, help the feeling come out, express the feeling, talk through the feeling. Now, this is capable with average loving people. There are definitely exceptions to the rules, and you don't try to do that with people who are incapable of having those empathetic conversations. So the last two categories are family and community. So, um, what kinds of things do you want to do with your family? Spending time with them, setting that time aside, um, taking turns. Some people like things that other your partner doesn't. If I like playing, being outside, going in out into nature and hiking and all of that. My partner's like, no, I hate that stuff. I'd rather just stay inside and do X, Y, and Z. You got to compromise and negotiate with each other because I'm gonna be doing that stuff either with you or without you. And it's okay if I do it without you, I can do that. But every once in a while, it's like you got to step outside your comfort zone when you're in a relationship. You got to go do the things that your kids enjoy doing, even though you don't enjoy doing it. Put on a happy face and go do it because you love spending time with them. It's not about the activity. I want to spend time with you. So whatever you want to do, I'm going to go do it with you.
Yeah.
Both ways. In community, companions for the journey. So under this heading in your personal rule of life, you will want to ask yourself about the kind of companions you need for this next stage of your journey. Are they support groups? Are they people from your church? Are they a book club? Are they people that are thinking and are like-minded? And then remember this wellness plan that you create for your life, this rule of life that you're creating, it's going to change over time. We go through seasons. Um, So be open to the flexibility and adaptability of that. Check in with this. Check in with it monthly. Did our goals change? Is anything shifting this week? Create yearly goals. Did anything change after this year? What are we going to work on? What am I trying to work towards the next year? So revisiting this quite often. Um, Again, begin slowly working on only one or two elements at a time. Be willing to make mistakes, try again, and learn new things. You may want to try sketching out a rule of life for a 4 week period, such as Advent or during Lent. Remember, as Benedict wrote 1500 years ago, your way of acting should be different from the world's way. The love of Christ must come before all else. Keep that before you, and you won't go too far off. So, God has a different plan and path for each of us. We talked about this. Everybody's journey is their journey. My prayer is that you would be faithful to yours, that you would actually take time to not just plan it out yourself. The first year, I was like, these are all the things I'm going to do. And then I was like, all right, never mind, God, you tell me next what I'm supposed to do. Because it didn't go so well when I tried to do it all my way. Um,
Been
or
there.
it was fine. I just felt like I was in opposition to a lot of things the whole time. Once I was like, forget it, you just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. The rejection, I was like, whatever, it's God's plan. I'm not too mad about this. If I get kicked out of school, that's God's plan. If this happens, that's God's plan. If whatever, like, it's his plan.
Yeah.
If he has a plan for my life, I trust where he's taking me in whatever route I take to get there and whatever timing it takes to get me there. I and having that goal, like that mentality, is what has helped me so much learn to just embrace and love the moment. This is where I'm at today. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that. But I'm not going to get beat up along the way. So I pay attention to those types of things. But for the most part, it's like, all right, what am I learning from this experience? This isn't going so well, Lord. What are you teaching me in this moment? What can I take away from this? What's going to help me be a stronger, better person? Shift your
Definitely.
focus to growth instead of being in this fixed place.
being present. I think that's the other thing is, no matter what it is that is up and coming or what just happened, focusing on where you are in that exact moment in time and what's around you and tapping back into your senses, tapping back into nature. What has God given me today? Things might be swirling around me, but I know that he's in control and I release that to him. And, for me, my current joy is my bird cam. And girl, I
Bird
took a
cam, now
screenshot.
it's a bird bath cam. Pretty
It
soon we're
it's
gonna have
becoming like a bird retirement
three.
home. Yes, like, and my husband's showing me the website last night of look how many things they have. And I can see the potential because we're like, where are we going to set up the bird bath? Actually, I think you should ask your nephew for me because he might
Oh,
want to he'll have something to say about it. I have a feeling. But I sent my cousin a screenshot of just like I pulled up my camera, my camera roll last night, and for like the first 40 pictures are just birds, and she's like, I think we're very well invested at this point.
yeah, girl. If you could figure out a way to get hummingbirds over there, though, that'd be cool. A
They,
hummingbird cam.
they do have that feeder, so we'll work on that next. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to read a quote from this book, and then we're going to close in prayer. So Carlo then went on to ask himself, what is my place in the great evangelizing work of the church? And this is his answer to his question. My place was there among the poor. Others would have the task of building, feeding, preaching. The Lord asked me to be a poor man among the poor, a worker among workers. It is difficult to judge others, but the one truth we must cling desperately to is love. It is love that justifies our actions. Love must initiate all we do. If out of love, Brother Paul has chosen to die on a desert road, then he is justified. If out of love, others build schools and hospitals, they are justified. If out of love, scholars spend their lives among books, they are justified. The Lord asked me to be a poor man among the poor, a worker among workers. I can only say, live love, let love invade you. It will never fail to teach you what you must do. In the same way, it is my prayer that God gives you the courage to faithfully live your unique life in Christ. And may love invade you. It will never fail to teach you what you must do. Before I close in prayer, I wanted to say, going back to what you were saying earlier, there is um, a simple thing that you can do that will help train you how to live in the moment. It's called the 5 4 3 2 1 technique. Um, you go through your five senses. All right, so in this place, what are five things that I see? Five things that are beautiful to me that I enjoy looking at. So I see my neon green plant down here. It's beautiful to me. I love the bright colors of it. I love how much those two greens, it's like all the shades of green in one leaf, from the lightest to the darkest. And you explain these things. I really enjoy the coral rock that's sitting on the shelf over there because I got it in Belize. I stole it from the island. It reminds me of that trip every time I look at it. It's got lots of different holes and different shapes and different colors that kind of flow through it. I really enjoy my owl vase because he's got really smart eyes that are just staring into my soul when I look at him. And I like the different unique shapes to the the ceramic on it, the bubbles, the edges. So you're going through and you're expanding on vision.
Mhm.
It's not just saying plant, carpet, desk. Like if you're in a PTSD or a panic, like you're having like your triggered PTSD moment or you're having a panic attack, yes, those are simple things. Five blue things. Look around, five blue things. But like when you're doing this mindfulness practice, you're being intentional in each of your senses. So I do five things that I can see that bring pleasure and I describe them and I go into as many details as I can about it. Then I go into four things that I can touch or feel. I feel the cool breeze of the ceiling fan. It's not too much, it's not too little, it's just enough. It's kind of chilly. I could probably put a sweater on and I'd be okay. I can feel the softness of the suede seat beneath me. I like the feeling of this because X, Y, and Z. I have my soft furry blankets because I love soft furry blankets. I can feel my dog. So you're going through and you're describing in detail the things that you can feel. So sight, touch or feel, and then three things that maybe I can hear. And this is when you get quiet and you listen. I can only hear one thing. No, you don't. Pause. Be still. What do I hear? I hear the rumbling of something outside going down the street, a loud truck. I can hear the flutter of these leaves brushing up against each other because of the breeze coming from the ceiling fan. I can hear my dog breathing over there because that's just what he does. It's heavy breathe.
I hear my cat meowing upstairs.
Yeah. So you're training yourself to become aware of your awareness. This is what draws your senses in. Two things that I can smell. This is even more difficult. Close your eyes. What are smells that come? Pause. Give yourself enough time and space to really find a smell. I think that's one of the hardest things. And the last one is taste. Sometimes you have gum in your mouth. Sometimes you can put something, you can taste something. Right now, I taste the residue of coffee all in my mouth. And
Me too. Yep.
if you flutter your tongue on the back of your throat, you press the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth, but then you move the back of your tongue up and down. It will actually bring a flavor to your mouth. Sometimes you don't like that flavor and you might need to go get a piece of gum to chew on. Sometimes it reminds you of like, yep, I ate garlic bread earlier and it still tastes good in my throat. Like you don't know just what's something that, and if I don't taste anything, is there something that I can taste? Grab a piece of candy, grab a sucker, grab a piece of gum, put it in your mouth slowly. What does this feel like in my mouth? What is the texture of it? Does it get softer the longer I hold it in my mouth? What is it like to not chew that immediately, to just savor the flavor as it sits on my tongue? I remember with my niece, I would give her suckers when she was younger, the little dum dum suckers, and she would just crunching on the thing, and I'm like, Rebecca, that's a sucker. It's not a hard
Favorite.
chew candy. I'm like, you like it. And she's like, no, I like it too much. I want to eat it. Just like, and you know her, she's go, 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 go. Like she just wants to get everything done as fast as possible all the time. And it started with suckers when she was a kid. And I was like, slow down, savor that flavor. Enjoy what you're sipping on. When you're eating lunch, don't just like rush through your lunch. Learn how to just pay attention to the flavor of it.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
do I like about this? Chew slower. Breathe in, smell things differently. This is when you're doing the dishes, slow everything down. How does the water feel on your hands? Do you like the smell of the soap you're using? If you don't, get a different soap.
Yeah.
It's the sponge. This is why I don't use sponges because they freaking stink. And I hated doing dishes because I hated the way it smelled. I got rid of the sponge. I found ones that don't have any smell to them ever. I love them.
Mhm.
And I love doing dishes now. Like it doesn't bother. So it's like pay attention to where your irritabilities are coming from and make a change. You don't have to do things the way your mom, your grandma, and your great grandma did things. You can choose to do things your way. You can do it a little bit different.
Yeah,
Practicing these mindfulness techniques brings you those awarenesses, the things that you do like, the things that you don't so much like, and what can I do to change it so I do enjoy it?
agreed. I recently reorganized part of our bathroom, and I had to slow down. I was not really excited to have to clean the bathroom, but I just kind of went a little bit at a time. I turned on some music and uh, took the moment to like actually, I was like, let's go to Dollar General. We need a couple things to organize some things. And that made the whole entire experience just so much better because I could arrange and I could repicture things. And my husband came home from his 2-day trip and was like, wow, it's all clean and organized. And I just thought, you know what? There's no point in doing something miserably, like that's just going to make it harder. And I think, like you said, finding the joy in it and the purpose and the gift. And I think I'm also in that space of, I get, I'm well enough to do this. I get to clean the bathroom. I know there's points in my life where I couldn't get off the couch, for whatever reason. And you just have to be in that space of gratitude. I mean, nobody really enjoys cleaning a toilet, but I'm well enough to do it. So
Girl does.
you do? Girl, you can clean my toilets all you want.
It's only because when we were kids, that was the one thing my sister refused to clean, and I didn't like dusting. So I was like, "You dust everything in the house, and I'll clean the one toilet we have." And she was like, "Done, deal."
Good trade.
But I clean the toilet anytime it looks dirty. I clean the toilet. Like
Yeah,
it's not like I have a cleaning day for the like I've learned with me and my personality. I clean things as I see them.
yeah.
If I'm in the bathroom and I go to the bathroom real quick and I don't have anything for 5 minutes, I will clean the toilet real quick. I'll wipe it down. I got dog hair and everything. So it's like, oh, okay. And I just clean it real quick. Every time I wash my hands in the sink, I wipe the whole sink down. I just rinse it down and clean it. Like it keeps everything looking cleaner longer. And you don't have to spend a bunch of time just cleaning everything. It's just do it a little bit as you go. That works for me.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I'd rather do spend a whole Saturday cleaning my freaking house.
Yeah, I can't do my whole house in one day either, but I've also found just pick a room and pick a day and like just follow in suit, and that's what has worked well for me. And at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, I got it done. Like, I didn't get overwhelmed by it. And um, I actually checked everything off my little to-do list the other day, and that doesn't happen super often. So it's just taking the time to appreciate. I mean, when you slow down and you focus and then you really, you know, take the time to be like, what is it that I need to do and how can I enjoy myself doing it? What order do I need to do it in so that I don't get overwhelmed by it? Whatever that is. It
And
really,
sometimes I tell my clients, grab a post-it note, write Monday through Saturday on there, post it on the doorway or door of the room that you want to organize on that day.
yeah.
Mondays are the day I organize my office. Tuesdays are the days I clean through the bathroom. Wednesdays are the days I go through my bedroom and I do laundry. Thursdays are the day that I go clean the kitchen. Fridays are the day that I clean the living room. Saturdays are the day that I do outside stuff. Make a plan for it and do a little bit at a time every time you do it. It's just the more you practice writing things down, the more of a habit you'll get into.
Yeah.
You don't have to write things down forever. Sometimes you might, depending on what it is, but your brain will create a habit for you that works for you.
Hmm.
So experiment with this. Go through this wellness wheel. Like you can look up the wellness wheel, or you can go through these 8 categories that he has in here. But create a plan. Start with one thing. Try to do it consistently. Once you do that more consistently, it becomes easier.
Hmm. Hmm. Agreed. Yep. And then it starts to come to mind as, oh, it's Tuesday. It's X, Y, and Z day.
Taco
Something
Tuesday. So what do I do on Taco Tuesday?
I make all the tacos. I get to have guacamole today. Like things to look forward to.
As long as I clean my bathroom, that's
Right.
Taco. So, all right, let me close in prayer and we'll let everybody go.
Okay.
Lord, after reading this chapter, I just need to be with you for a long time. I know that at other times I have rushed and cut you short, but I can see there are a lot of things in me that need to change. Let this time be different, Lord. Show me what one small step I can take to begin to build a life around you. Help me pay attention to your voice. By faith, I obey, trusting that even small changes will grow into powerful winds of the Holy Spirit blowing through and overtaking all of the areas of my life. Thank you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Wow, what a good conversation.
Great conversation. Hope this is helpful. Leave comments, send us a message. If you got things going on in your life, join our group. I am who I am. We have a lot of good discussions on there. Uh, it's not a group to join where if you just want people to validate you. We will, but at the same time, I will challenge you. I will help you learn to look at things outside of your own perspective. That is what brings peace. You have your perspective, you have your way of doing things, you have your way of thinking, you have your ideas, you have all of that. I will challenge you to look at it from a different perspective. What about this? What if you looked at it this way? Because most of us are other focused. The problem is out there. I am going to ask you how you're contributing to the problem out there because that is all you can control is what's inside of you. We are to be authentic. My personality doesn't change the closer I grow to God. My attitude, I was thinking about this yesterday because God created my personality, He gave me my temperament. So, what changes the closer I grow to God? It's my attitude and my character. But I am who I am. And that's the whole point of this group is to really truly understand who you are in respect to those around you.
Yeah,
So,
that's
join
true.
us if you want.
I've been appreciating and loving we've actually you had a lot of um, conversation in traffic this week, a lot of good questions, a lot of good conversations
Yeah,
happening. So deep,
I love it.
thoughtful things.
All
So
right, we'll see you guys. Oh, next book we're reading. Um,
Everyday Narcissism, right? Yeah, I have mine
Narcissism.
here too.
Um, I'm hoping that this book will bring to light everybody else's quick judgment to call other people narcissists. Um,
Okay,
I
good.
myself have to be very cautious of using that word and how I use it. I don't call people narcissists. I do recognize narcissistic behaviors, tendencies, traits. When our narcissism tends to come out, we all have it. This is not about clinical narcissism. This book is about our everyday irrational, subtle beliefs that keep us stuck in either a victim mindset or a place where we think we can control things outside of our control. So, this whole book is about helping you understand what you're trying to control that you can't control and how to and these come from our wounds, our childhood wounds. So, it's becoming aware of what your childhood wounds are and how we can begin to grow out of that in order to have effective boundaries, to communicate more assertively, to ask more questions, to be more inquisitive, to be more gentle, to let people be who they are while we work on choosing to become the person that we want to be, and how to let go, forgive, and all of that good stuff. So, if you want to join us, Everyday Narcissism, Yours, Mine, and Ours by Nancy Van Dyken. Wonderful book. I have read this book so many times. Every single one of my clients have read this book. And they all hate it at first. And then they're like, oh my gosh, that's me. And that's why I hated it when I first started reading it. Like, this is the story of my life. And it's the story of everybody's life, which is why she calls it Everyday Narcissism. This is a global phenomenon, epidemic, whatever you want to call it. Um, so, just a big, maybe a little insight. Narcissism in all forms is a belief that the world revolves around us and that what happens in the world happens because of us. Most of us live with a common form of narcissism so deeply embedded that we don't even know we have it. This everyday narcissism comes from a combination of childhood wounds and powerful myths we were taught as children. Everyday narcissism helps readers understand how Ian manifests in their own lives and teaches them how to heal it. This awareness provides a foundation for creating greater happiness, more fulfilling relationships, less reactivity, and more meaning. It is an absolutely wonderful read. So I think everybody would really enjoy that. So join us as we read this, read along with us, read it at your own pace. I don't care. This is a book that I say pick up and read at
Yeah,
some point. So that's
add
what
it.
were we saying?
I said add it to your library. And then in upcoming things, which I think we talked about in the last episode, we have a trip to Belize in less than 2 weeks. And Jess and I are going to a conference next weekend. So you'll be hearing feedback on that, maybe even some footage from Belize. Maybe there's some.
We'll definitely be sharing a lot of our trip to Belize. Um, and then we'll be doing our podcast from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania at the conference. We'll probably be doing it a different day. We might do it Sunday morning. So
Mhm. Mhm.
Keep that in mind. Get your book. We'll be going over chapters 1 and 2 next time we meet. And then we'll get into chapter 3. And then I'll break it down and see how we go because there's a total, I think, of 8 chapters, 14 chapters. We'll break that down. Some of them, like chapter 2 was like 3 pages, so it's not very long. So we'll break it down. Um, Love you guys. Thanks for following. Thanks for listening. Again, go to our website, shatteredinto1.com, see what we're doing. Get involved if you want to get involved. Leave us a message. If you want to take mission trips with us, we're always looking for volunteers. That's always something. If you can't take the mission trip, we're always looking for donations. We have a lot of money we need to raise in order to build this community center for the children and the women there. But great things are happening and great things are coming. So we would love your support.
I second that every single.
Love you guys. We'll see you.